Analogous, if you think of like in a in English class, you talk about analogies, things that are similar to each other. So an analogous color scheme are colors that are similar to each other. And the best way that you can find things that are similar to each other is by looking for things right next to each other. So if you look at this, green and yellow green, these all kind of share something in common, right? Um, okay, so we can also look at this, and a blue green green and yellow green, this is an analogous color scheme as well because they all share green, right? Okay, and here we have blue green and green. So let's see, I can think of a recent movie, Frozen 2 had pretty much a an analogous color scheme. They had kind of these purples and dark pinks and things like that. So I would say that that movie overall, or certain scenes of it at least, had an analogous color scheme. Okay, if you look at something like this, you can see maybe flames, things like that. So this has a feeling of heat. All right, something like this might have a feeling of just being in nature. Something like this, you might think of the sea. All right, even to an extent that you kind of think of the sea, something like that. So doing an analogous color scheme can kind of help to bring some unity to your colors. Okay. The next color scheme we're going to talk about is complementary, okay? And so as we look at the color wheel, we're looking for things, colors that are directly across from each other, okay? And I'm going to actually start with red and green. The first thing I think of when I think of red and green is Christmas, right? And actually, if we go back to that website, what I like about it is that it shows holly leaves and berries. Okay, so I want to kind of point this out here. It says to avoid complementary color schemes that are too simplistic, add some variety by introducing lighter, darker, and or desaturated tones. So here we're looking at the I guess the hues of red and green, but then we're also picking out some different shades here. I'm sorry, some different tints here. Okay, so if we go back to our color wheel, we have red and green, which is of course very common. And then as we go along, we have orange and blue green. Actually, let's take a look at this. Let's see how we would show a complementary color scheme in your PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and look up Disney princesses. Okay, and I want you to kind of look at this. Let's see if we can find a picture with a lot of them together. I want you to see if you can kind of pick out on your own some complementary colors here. Okay, in fact, let's see, I can't put them both up at the same time, but blue, green, and red, orange. Okay, I see at least a couple of characters here that could fit into that. We might even have to kind of go over to red, green, or somewhere in between. All right. The thing about color theory is it's not an exact science. It's kind of what looks right. So if we were to kind of merge these two colors together, kind of the red, orange, blue, green, and green, kind of that's what I want you to think of when you look at this picture here. Okay, I see at least two characters there, Merida and the Little Mermaid, Ariel. Yeah. So I see those colors working there. Okay. So in your PowerPoint presentation, you're going to be looking for some characters that have complementary, analogous, monochromatic, and the third one we're going to talk about in just a minute. All right, but I want you to kind of see how this works. It is directly across from each other on the wheel. Okay, let's look at violet and yellow, or another way of saying it is purple and gold. Can you think of any logos maybe that have purple and gold? I can certainly think of some. Now, when you're doing your research, you might have to think a little differently. Here it says violet and yellow, but like I said, this is also known as purple and gold. So I'm going to just do a quick search. Actually, I think I have something up already. Yeah, here we go. Complementary colors. Now, you need to be careful here because when you search up something like complementary colors, you might get something that's not complementary colors. And we'll take a look at that in just a second when we talk about the next one. Okay, I see the Los Angeles Lakers have purple and gold. My brother went to LSU, Louisiana State University, LSU logo. You can see here they have purple and gold as well. Okay. Now you have to be careful here because something like the Burger King logo, even though it's showing up when you search for complementary colors, it's actually not. Okay, so we'll take a look at that in just a second when we move on to our next one. So this one, notice how there are 3 colors that really stand out. So we'll take a look at that in just a second. Okay, so let's go back to Photoshop and just kind of look at some of the other complementary colors. You have red, violet, and yellow, green. Red and green, we're back to that. Okay, so something that's very popular nowadays in films is a blue and orange, but they actually call, or even this one, it's not called blue, green, and red, orange. It's called orange and teal. Okay, Teal. So again, the names here might change a little bit, but blue, green, teal is a blue, green. Okay, so it's very common nowadays to see orange and teal in films. Let's look it up real quick. Orange, teal films. Okay, we look at images. Okay, so here's kind of an example here on a movie poster. And I have I have a good video. If I can find it again, I'll post that to Canvas. But you can see here, especially with skies and fire, sky and fire, that's your blue, green, your teal, and your orange. Okay, so these look really nice together. So it's become very popular here's Wall-E. You kind of have like a overall blue look about the world, and yet Wall-E has kind of an orangish tint to it. Here's Hugo, same thing. So like I said, it's become very popular in recent years to combine those two together. And of course, filmmakers are always looking at their colors to see what works best together. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about, the last color scheme that we're going to talk about is triadic. Okay, and of course tri means 3. So think of the word triangle. So here you go, you're looking at 3, and we looked at this at the beginning because we looked at this red, yellow, and blue as our primary colors, kind of like where all colors start. When we start mixing these colors together, we create other colors. Okay, so let's take a look at that again. Okay, and we can look at red, blue, and yellow. In fact, before we move on to the next one, let's take a look. There we go. There's your triadic color. Okay. In the example that I put on Canvas, let's look at that. Okay, the example that I put on Canvas is Bart Simpson. Okay, so you have the red shirt, the blue pants, and the yellow skin. Okay, so for your project here, what you're going to do is you're going to have a PowerPoint presentation with 17 slides. Okay, your first one is going to be the title page, and then you're going to have for each of the 4 color schemes, you're going to explain what it is. So that'll be, so the first one is monochromatic. You're going to show a definition and or you're going to write a definition and a picture showing what that is. Okay. And then what you're going to do is then you're going to look for a monochromatic character. Okay, I promise they're out there. Think of Steven Universe. I think you're going to find some monochromatic characters there. They don't have to be cartoons, although it will be kind of easy for you to do that. So what you want to do is you want to put over here what you're looking at. Okay, Bart Simpson, or if you're talking about a product, you could say like LSU logo. So for LSU logo, if you were to use that, which I'd prefer you not to, you'd say for complementary product or logo, you'd say LSU logo complementary colors. Okay, and then you would say that gold and purple are complementary colors. So I want you to actually put the name of what it is, okay, if you know it, what type of color scheme it is, and then you actually need to write out the colors that you're talking about. Why? Because some pictures may have a lot of different pictures out there, or a lot of different colors in it, and I want you to kind of focus on the 2 or the 3 colors that you are talking about. Okay, so I want you to specifically write down what colors you're referring to in there. You don't necessarily have to put this here, although I put that here so you could see in the example how I came to this conclusion that Bart Simpson is a triadic color scheme character. Okay. Okay, so you're going to have a total of 17 slides, and I numbered each one for you so that way you knew exactly what it is you needed to do. Okay, in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain how to set up your PowerPoint presentation, how to actually get into it through our ClassLink system, and then how to turn it in through Canvas.